All right, so here we are. We're sitting in our cave here, watching episode 1 of Leaving Eden. I'm sitting here with Jen, Batty, and Scylla, who produced and played Jill Nicholson, and David Spiro, who played Ben Nicholson. And of course, there was a lot of acting as they were acting like they were married to each other.
A lot of acting. That took a lot
Scott
of work.
Crofts plays Les in Leaving Eden and is sitting to my left. If you're scoring
Glad
at
to
home.
be here. Glad to be here.
If you're scoring at home.
Left to right on your
Left to right on your screen.
He's still here.
So we're going to go ahead and roll episode 1. We've got lots of stories to tell. We'll try to fit them into 15 minutes. The first of which we didn't think this episode was going to be 15 minutes. I think all of us, the way that I think it even counts out to 11 pages or so. But the reason it took a little bit longer is we had some incredible shots that we just felt like we had part of the story is. And honestly, to be honest, with the first episode, I wanted everybody to stop and go, wait, where's the talking? I wanted them to kind of stop and realize that we're not telling the story the way you think, and we're going to take our time and notice beautiful things and show you beautiful things. And I think in a way, challenge people to watch as opposed to people who are impatient. I've been told a number of times that webisodes are supposed to be 5 minutes or less. They can't have opening credits. You have to get to the story. You have to make sure it's very, very serialized. And I mean, almost to a fault, I've broken all those rules. I don't really think it's important. I don't care. Maybe it's because I don't need to make any money out of this. I'd like to make money, but we don't. But more than anything, though, it's really from the opening shot. I want people to stop. People like meaning even the people that are close to us, and say, "Okay, what's going on?" I mean, so that's why I even chose the music I chose in this opening sequence. This is by Ebro, a young woman from New Orleans, who is actually doing a riff. So that's a little bit like her explosions in the sky.
There's a cat. Yep. One of the cats.
That are in Leaving Eden. Taya got that cool shot looking past.
Oh, Taya is incredible as a camera operator.
So this is the beginning of me starting to edit my own words.
Yes, and you called.
I just cut out a whole bunch of lines there because.
And this was the first scene on the first day that we shot, and yeah.
We
95-degree day
Yeah.
brewing.
Yeah. I had to do makeup. That was lovely. Sweaty guys.
She made the dead guy look really dead.
I did. I worked hard at
Yes,
that.
we are at West 5945 Rio Creek Lane, town of.
And the auctioneer in the background was actually what was actually on the TV when we were here. So I just grabbed some audio of it and made it in there.
No.
This is another sequence of events that my dad told me happened, where he was called to a home to know the people there. They thought that he did.
Thank you.
You don't know his name's Jim.
No, sorry, I don't. Is Jim your friend?
He's a good man.
Usually I layer sound in. This I didn't. Those birds are there outside the window.
Yeah.
You know, I usually have a really good memory for faces.
He was there. He was there at Christmas.
And note Les's very dirty hands.
It was actually something we thought of in the last couple of takes. We
Yeah.
ran you outside by the
We had to shove
grill.
him into
grill.
the grill. Yeah.
Yeah, I grabbed the grate of the grill that was very used right outside the door and basically rolled my arms and hands all over it. Got some dirt.
When he showed up that day with his dirty hands, I don't know. Weird.
So, the one thing we could say too, this opening sequence of Lucas walking into an empty church is just the magic of what happened, because we had never anticipated on getting any of those shots. But the church was actually under construction when we wanted to use it, so we ended up with some
Yeah,
magic
you can
shots.
use the church, but by the way, we're tearing everything
Yeah.
out.
By the way, it doesn't exist anymore.
And the other interesting part of the opening sequence, I know that Dave had mentioned early on that he thought it might be interesting to see if he could go hold on to the dirty hands thing going into his scene, where he walks into the home and has to wash his hands. I don't know if many people in the audience caught it, but that's okay.
Right.
But the idea was he'd been around a dead guy, he'd shaken the hand of some guy he didn't know who's got grimy hands. And, pastors get dirty. That's what they do.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is the longest I've hung on to the opening sequence was the first episode.
Right.
Yes.
This is music from the incredible Matthew Kidd, or Matt Frodo, who's the lead guitarist for the Robbie C Band. And Robbie C's a dear friend of ours. And here's
There
Lucas
he
walking
is.
in.
Martin Luther.
We actually backlit this Luther statue, stained glass window. And I wanted to really show Lucas kind of studying this church and the icons in the church. So he sees Luther and sees him in focus. This is kind of cool. They actually had this stuff over the pulpit.
It actually turned out to be very beautiful,
Yeah.
oddly.
Yeah, I mean, the stained glass windows are magic, and on top of that, though, that there's something that does make you want to look up when you're in an empty church. Everything's kind of pointing up. And so here we are. We followed Lucas to the other side of the church and kept trying to find focus. And that was purposeful, just this idea of like Lucas trying to get in focus about, his opening minutes in the sanctuary in the church. He is the only character that I wrote a part for was Lucas, and this is why he was only one person who could pull the scene off. But there was a point where we weren't sure if he was going to play, and then we were discussing just leaving him at the pulpit and letting him have the same kind of wonder there. But
We let him loose.
we let him loose, which seems to be what we've done with Josh a lot. So I kept wanting to look up at those horns.
You can't
from-
stop him. You can only hope to
to
contain
contain
him.
him. Exactly. When we did the early take of this, and you'll see it on the outtakes at YouTube, he sat down and he ripped out Amazing Grace, and it stunned us to the point where we just figured, okay, it's in. I did. And even though it didn't make any sense to the context of the story, it just was so stunning.
Yeah,
For somebody to-
vocally.
And I'm related to him, so the idea that he can blow me away, he's still just that good. But here's killer. If you listen, he's playing parts of the Leaving Eden theme. Right here, listen, this is,
That's it.
you'll hear that at the end of the episode. Even then, Josh was thinking about Leaving Eden theme. And here's Carol, that's Angie Mack.
Getting into it. Getting angry.
I think everyone's question that watched this is, why is she so abrupt? And the answer is, keep watching.
Yeah.
I think by the time you get to the third and the fourth episode, you understand. You almost deal with it. These people are in every work environment, and everybody goes, "Oh, you just got to deal with. You got to deal with Carol.
Yeah.
She's just
Yeah.
Carol. It's Carol."
You
I
can-
think
Name
I
that
actually had
person.
someone named Carol
Yeah.
at my previous job.
So it's interesting. 'cause
Everyone has a Carol.
everybody's concerned about this character in the first couple seconds, like you would be at your own workplace. But after a while, you forget how abrupt she is because you're just so used to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she does a great job.
Yeah, she killed this.
Because Angie Mack actually is the opposite of Carol.
She could be the nicest person.
Yes.
I love his look here. Like, what just
Awkward.
happened?
I'm gonna shut this now.
I'm all done.
So there's that little shot of
There he
my
is.
dad, picture of my dad, that I kind of left in there, and it's kind of cool.
I have to talk about these two boys.
Yeah. Owning every scene they're in.
They steal every scene. And only because they actually are that good.
I love the audio in this because Ethan starts drumming with his pencil, and you can hear it, and it's kind of cool. It's like, it's so real sounding. I mean, if you couldn't make it up, you'd want him to, just like Aiden coloring right there.
We didn't have to give them
And he did.
anything.
Yeah. They just went and did what they did. Here comes the Jill/Jen look of death for your pleasure.
It took a lot of acting.
Izzy,
It's
she's
coming
here all the
up.
time.
It's coming up.
Izzy says what, and then
I never give this look. Oh.
We've seen it a lot tonight.
Oh! Come
I will
on.
tell you that the Izzy part when we shot this scene didn't exist, but then we wrote that in and wrote that line in,
Yeah.
and honestly, it was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It gave us the look of death. So it was
Takeaways.
You think that was the look of death?
You can also hear the. Oh,
There he is.
John Guilford, fellow teacher at Long.
Outstanding actor.
yeah. I mean, I have to admit, it doesn't have the look, but then
Right.
he understands just implicitly what's going on, the tone necessary to be the biggest.
Yes.
What word can I say? Jerk.
Controller?
I used the very, very first take here because I'm pretty sure that Josh, who played Lucas, who was terrified right now.
Oh, yes. He was
I don't
so
think he
scared.
understood that he was on camera and he was making these twitches. And
He
he's
loved it.
so at some point I'll cut away to one of his later takes. So he was really laboring,
Yeah.
and it worked. It worked beautifully.
Works. There was so much.
There's a couple of these Dave Sapiro looks that, there's one in episode 4 too, where I think he does this during the day in real life.
Please,
where
yes.
he looks like he's thinking, but he's not.
Can we get this over with, please?
Didn't ask these people to doodle, or to what to doodle, but they just did a good job of just writing 0.
Oh.
And Guilford wrote nothing on his page, and
Yep.
underlined it,
And
which was
please,
beautiful.
please pay attention to the double watch
Yeah,
checker.
the double watch checker is
We
fascinating.
have to show you where that is because
But also, I will say,
Brilliant.
this speech by Lucas
I'm sure we'll get.
might be very good speech, but no one's listening. Just that was the idea.
Right.
He might actually have something to say, but he doesn't. Again, is not connecting with his audience, and we'll see this over and over again.
there it
One.
is. 1
And
and
two.
2.
There it is.
And I'm sorry, but I love the microwave line. Watch the tie fixing.
Oh, if anyone has a inexpensive microwave, looking to get rid of.
And I'm just stunned.
And I'm done now.
And
What was that? Let's get these guys out of here. Okay.
There we
out
go.
all the feuds in one night.
so here's
It was again, serendipity that they had cut a hole in this closet for the construction. And
Yes.
so we're poking the camera through an actual hole in the wall.
And
so
we
get
have the
this awesome
sound
shot.
guy taking the mic through the hole too.
No?
And then the
Well, yeah, actually.
Yeah, I'm sure you have a ton.
Well, what is your philosophy?
Philosophy.
I just
Yeah,
have to
your
say,
approach.
2 great actors.
and I mean I'm pretty proud to say, taking this line and going all in to episode 3 and answering the question. I'm
Yes.
pretty proud of that story arc of being able to kind of sew it together.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'll have a better answer for you tomorrow. It'll be a good exercise.
And just getting into the rhythm of film acting. This was the first scene that I was really happy with.
Yeah.
Myself, just watching myself. And then this one, I think, just.
Here's Josh killing it with the music.
It's alright, I'll just pay it tomorrow.
No, I'll take care of it.
Is that why I woke up to talk about bills?
No.
This scene was shot as one of our practice scenes back in months and months ago.
This was my first scene.
And I will say this too. This scene, actually, as it was originally written, ended with her saying, "Take the hits," and I went back to and wrote in what I think is even one of the better lines that I've written. "Go ye therefore" line. So it's. I love that we're using.
You wrote that scripture? I didn't know.
No,
that you.
You wrote the Bible?
No, I altered it.
I know.
Jill altered it.
First night.
I remember
Meeting this new record.
because this was the first scene ever that I did officially. And lay down in bed, and the cameras were on, and they were 2 feet away from our faces, and I went, okay, here we go.
Yep.
Here we go.
So are you saying you didn't like having the attention
I
that close?
loved it, and I wanted more cameras, but it was different. Coming from theater,
Yeah.
it
Oh
was-
yeah. That's
Wow.
exactly was my thought too.
yes, because it is right there.
Mm-hmm. It's easy to ignore an audience and perform when you're on
Mhm.
stage, but
But
when you've
here-
got 3 people,
Mm.
someone's sitting at the foot of your bed.
There's nothing to hide.
You know, yeah.
You can't hide anything, and
And
it
that's why.
became amazing to me. But it was, wow, it was something.
So, gentle viewer, if you will, as you hear this theme, believe me, go rewind it and go back to Lucas playing the piano and
Yep.
listen to
And
him
there it is.
play the Leaving Eden theme at the piano as part of Beautiful Savior, because he's just that good. That's just stupid good. So, with the pilot, I have to admit, every time I watch it, my first reaction is like, oh, I wish I could have done it, and then I realized, no, that's a good pilot. I think we did all right.
Yes.
We had shot that all in one day, essentially, without any real understanding of how we were going to even handle. We weren't even sure if we were going to shoot them one at a time. We didn't know what we were going to do.
No idea.
Yeah.
No
No
idea.
idea.
So, and I will also say, first time I've ever made credits for anything was this.
Oh.
I just never done it before.
It's just
POV,
perfect.
you should explain.
Yeah, POV Einstein.
Okay, so the POV Einstein, I started out as a production assistant a long time ago. I basically wheeled my way onto sets by becoming a production assistant for a local company called Duncan May. And Duncan May was shooting some videos for Golden Book Company. And there was these kids, and they had some magic whiz-bang stuff all hidden up in the attic. And so they were super geniuses. But so when it looked like regular attic stuff, but then up in the, when you flipped it over, it would become like it was like a computer, and you flipped it over, and it was like a roll-top desk, and that was a sonogram, and there's all this stuff up there. Mm-hmm. So it was a pretty extensive shoot, and we actually shot in different segments. In that attic, there was this Einstein standee. They kept doing it to me, but when we had to wrap the first time, I had to spike and take pictures of every single thing there, so that we could reset it for the next shooting date.
Sure.
And I'm sitting there taking pictures of stuff and trying to figure out how I'm going to plot this out.
Mm-hmm.
So I realized, well, all I have to do is figure out where Einstein's standing and shoot from his point of view. Click, 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 and as long as I have Einstein right.
Yep.
So I wrote on the things, point of view Einstein.
Point of view Einstein.
So then I thought that was kind of cool, on this idea of like it mixes a very strong film idea, POV, with a kind of like this wacky genius thing, and it was my first set that I was, well, not the first set, but one of the first sets I was on. So I kind of hung on to it as this production company thing. Back in the old days, Dave and I were talking about what we'd use for a production company, and we always thought, I think we were talking about this, how cool it would be is from Streetcar, where Stanley goes, who you two think you are, a pair of queens?
Mm-hmm.
We thought it'd be cool if it was a pair of queens, but see, then
That has
they
other
might have-
connotations.
they might have thought that
Pair of
it was
queens.
a completely different production
Right,
company.
yeah.
But
Hello.
the idea of like, who do you two think you are? Who you two think you are? Pair of queens? And it would have been cool, except for when that music.
The other-
So we're sticking with POV Einstein at least.
Point
for
of
the
view.
time. Point of view of the genius. It turns out, I think it's kind of fun and quirky and has a little story. So there you go.
There you go.
We'll talk to you more. Thank you guys for, if anybody's going to stick around this long. Thanks a lot. Bye.